Of Creator Wizard, where I teach you how to find and negotiate your dream sponsorships. We are live across YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, other platforms I can't remember. Glad to be here. As with all these live streams, we talk about brand deals, negotiating, sponsorships, etc. The title of today's live is a little spicy. I called it "Why Dumb Creators Get More Sponsorships Than You." And I wanted to talk about this because I think that this is like a really pervasive thing where, sometimes you may look at other creators who have gotten deals and you kind of have this attitude like, how come that creator got a deal and I didn't? They're stupid. They're dumb. This type of idea. Like, they don't deserve it. They're not, worthy of getting that, working with that brand. This type of thing. And so as I always like to do, I like to dispel a lot of those myths because that's very much a victim mindset. And here that we don't, I take no prisoners here. I don't allow that mentality here because all of you, you take control. You're not passive. You are not being acted upon. And of course, I understand there's sometimes circumstances that make it more challenging for some creators than others. But I always really encourage everyone to take control of their situations here. And that's what we're going to talk about today. John Riggs in the chat said A+ thumbnail. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. I was kind of doing this on the thumbnail, right? Like, how come that creator gets a deal? We've got Jake in the chat here. We've got Sarah Dawn. We've got BBQ Friend. We've got Not Waiting to Live. We've got Kristen, Lauren, Bell. Michaela Ferris said, hey, caught my attention. We've got Lou. What's going on? Reluctant DIYers. Spicy. We've got Jercel, Mr. Producer. Good to see you here. The Wheelchair Dad. Good to see you all here. Yeah. All right. Glad to hear that this is kind of spicy for some people here. Glad to hear it. We've got Ramen Razzi. All right. So let's kick this off. So let's talk about, there's a couple different reasons that this is happening, but dumb creators are getting more sponsorships than you because they probably got on the radar of those brands and you didn't, probably by tagging them. There's this holier than thou mentality that I think some creators have where they feel as though it's beneath them to try to get on the radar of brands. And they think, well, I am so good that brands should come to me. And there is something to that like, you want, brands to, you want to be creating content that is so compelling that, brands are kind of banging down their door to come to you. But that's not always how it happens, especially in the beginning. And one of the things that I counsel a lot of creators to do, especially when they're earlier on in their growth journey, is you have to basically get on the radar of these brands because they don't know how big of a fan you are of them, right? Sometimes the way this will manifest is a brand, creator will get a brand deal from, some brand XYZ. You follow them or have been following them for a while. And then you see that deal and you're like, that creator doesn't use that brand, or I've never seen them talk about that. I, in fact, have been the creator that has been an authentic, fan of that brand for 3-4 years or whatever. And they get really upset. Like, why didn't the brand reach out to me? And when I say, hey, have you ever talked about the brand on your social media? Have you ever tagged them in Instagram stories or on TikTok or wherever you are? Have you ever emailed them and sent them a link to a video where you were talking about them? And they say no. I say, okay, well, how do you know that that's not what that creator did? Because in reality, I've talked with a lot of these creators who seemingly are dumb and don't know what they're doing, but sometimes these creators are a lot savvier than you may expect. And so this is a tip that I love giving right out the gates is how important it is to start being vocal about your advocacy and your affinity for certain brands and products and services. Because especially on Instagram, the thing that I really love about that is that when you tag them, that oftentimes will show up in their mentions. Depending on how big the brand is, it may go into their kind of requests area in their DMs, which is still fine. But especially if you are a larger creator, they're probably going to see that message. And they may forward that along the chain to, potentially the team that's responsible for handling creator activations. And so I think this is a really great tip for creators who are earlier on in their journey, to again, take back control over this process. Man, there's a lot of people here today. I guess between all the platforms I'm on, I guess this is a spicy tactic. The Falcon Eats says, literally thought about that this week. Glad to see it here. We've got Jonesing Finance, refreshingly COZ Christopher, Nan Finita Jacob from Jersey. Good to see you here. We've got Liz Bianco tuning in on Paperwork Day. We've got She Fires. Good to see you here as well. All right, so let's talk about another reason. So dumb creators are getting more sponsorships than you because it's not all about the metrics. Some creators will be like, well, that creator only has this amount of followers, or that creator, only gets this amount of listens, or they have this many, views or subscribers on their YouTube channel or whatever. And I have 2x more, or I have 3x more, and I'm not getting deals. Why is that? I'm not getting that. So let me tell you why this is happening, because I ran an influencer agency for 7 years, and it's not all about the metrics. Okay. Couple reasons. Number one, they may have existing relationships with that brand or that agency that you don't know about. That's number one. Number two, that creator may just fit the persona or the demographic of the types of creators that brand was trying to target. When we ran an agency, many times we would select creators to move forward with and actually pay them a very healthy amount simply because they kind of checked the box of what the brand was trying to accomplish. Maybe they lived in a certain part of the world or a certain part of the US that the brand was trying to target. We ran geo-targeted campaigns all the time where the brand said, we want to work with creators who are in the southeastern part of the US, or we want to work with creators who have kids between the ages of 6 and 12, or we want to whatever, insert certain random criteria X that the brand had. And so they chose to move forward with a creator who may have had a much smaller footprint than you, simply because that was the dynamics of the campaign. And so it's not all, you can't always tell on the surface of like what the dynamics were and why that brand may have chosen to move forward with. And so what I want you to hear is that sometimes these things are kind of out of your control, even though you may have, a better resume, a better, social vanity metrics than other creators, but that was just how the campaign went. And so a lot of times I like talking about these kind of behind the scenes things that happen when brands and agencies are paying creators and working with them. There's more than meets the eye a lot of times. In fact, like if you were to look at my personal social media channels with my wife and I, and you would wonder, like, how are they even getting deals? Because again, I've talked about this before, that if you looked at our viewership or our reach or our social footprint now compared to, let's say, 7 or 8 years ago when we were in kind of our heyday, and getting hundreds of thousands of views on our YouTube video when we were vlogging. It was right around our pregnancy journey when there was a lot of interest in our growing family and all this stuff too. That was when, we were at the peak of our, social footprint, of our metrics, right? And we are making like more money every year since then, even though our footprint has been going down and down and down and down. And because it's the thing I mentioned earlier, it's about the relationships that we build. It's about the Rolodex that we've created over the years. And brands and agencies know that when they come and reach out to April and Justin, they know the product that they're going to receive. And the product is our professionalism. It's our communication skills. It's our ability to hit deadlines. It's our ability to not give the brand a bunch of flack when they come back to us with feedback or issues on the, on the campaign. And, there's a thing that wasn't included in the brief. And then we say, hey, no worries. We'll film we'll record a 30-second additional voiceover to take care of that. No problem. That's the product that we sell. It's not just our influence. It's not just our ability to create polished content. It's also about the experience of working with us and interacting, right? And so that's why you may be seeing dumb creators getting more sponsorships than you, because they may not be so dumb if they're able to deliver on some of those more qualitative characteristics of what a partnership entails. Is this making sense? Can I get some like hand clap emojis, some mind blown emojis in the chat? Maybe some like praise hands if this is resonating. Give me some sort of validation that I need you to hear what I'm saying here. Okay, we've got Sips of Suze. We've got Jinners. We've got Aileen. We've got Lawn Care Business Success, Blended Beauty, Christina tuning in, Studio Adash. Love to hear it here. Glad to. Here we go. Okay, yeah. Sunday Lake Home says, yes, sir. Jercel says, preach. All right. Tote the Rock says, yes. All right. We got some praise hands from Sips of Suze. So appreciate it. Ramen Razzi says, yes. Tanya says, preaching. All right. Love to hear it. All right. All right. We ready to keep rolling on this train, the preaching train? Love to hear it. All right. So, dumb creators are getting more sponsorships than you because a lot of brands also don't understand how to look at metrics. Right? This is one I hear a lot. There's a common complaint that my wife has, which is like, that person is buying likes, or they've bought followers, or they're buying views, or you've seen these in some of your DMs where people will be like, $30 and you'll get 10,000 followers, or only pay us $50 and we'll get you all these views on our YouTube videos. Clearly, against the terms of service, clearly, fraudulent and illegitimate, of course. And a lot of brands are, there's still, unfortunately, some brands, especially those that are kind of coming up, they're newer brands. They don't really understand how a lot of this works. And so they see someone on social media, 10,000 followers, 20,000 followers. And they say, I guess that's a legitimate person. They don't understand that it's not hard to buy illegitimate, reach or following, right? And so the savvy brands understand that there's software programs that will, provide you the ability to tell whether a creator is authentic or not. Tell whether they, there was this massive spike in following in a 24-hour period. Like, clearly that's usually going to be illegitimate unless you had a viral video or something like that. But the thing that I want you to hear is that, creators who do that, it's like kind of like the fool me once, fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. Is that it? I might be flipped. I think I'm messing it up. But the whole point is that just rest assured that I believe in karma, and karma is waiting around the corner for creators like that. There's no way that you can build a long-term, robust business if you are doing illegitimate tactics like that. Yeah, you may be able to have some short-term success for, a year or two or something like that. But brands wise up to those types of tactics, and they will just stop working with those creators in the long term. And so, don't waste mental energy and mental real estate worrying about creators who are doing illegitimate tactics like that. There's nothing that you can do to control that situation. All you can control is yourself. And so just spend more time on active tactics, like I was mentioning earlier, around getting on brands' radar, tagging them. Those are things that you can control. Wasting mental energy on the creators that are doing illegitimate things, there's nothing you can do about that. And so just cut it out. Okay. A lot of people call me their tough love mentor, and that's what I'm here for. Okay. The Falcon Eats in the chat says, those bot followers won't go to bat for you. That's exactly right. They won't go to bat for you, and that's going to come back to bite you in the long run. We've got Molly tuning in. We've got Bianca tuning in. Molly, it's so funny you're here because, I was doing research for my book. I'm writing a book, if anyone didn't know. Super excited about that. But Molly, I was going back and reviewing the interview transcripts. You were so kind to sit down with one of my copywriters when I was working on one of my previous courses, and you sat down on an interview, and I was reading through the transcript literally yesterday, and it was crazy to me, just kind of going back and seeing how far both you and I have come in the last year and a half since you sat for that interview. So I'm so thankful that you did that, and it's paying in spades. It's something that's really cool that I did, Molly, too, is I took the transcript of your interview as well as some other people, and I dumped it into ChatGPT, and I was like, give me, I'm writing a book and I'm doing some research. Can you provide the, 8 to 10 takeaways of this interview that this creator had about working with brands? And I got this awesome overview document. So it was super cool. So super appreciative of you. All right. Yeah. And, Christopher says, makes perfect sense. I'm working on expanding into higher end brand collabs, and cracking the top tiers is proving difficult in the tech space, understandably. Yeah, I hear you. There's certain, niches that are, a little bit more challenging to break into than others. And so I hear you, but keep pushing through. I believe in you. I know that you can do it. And then Sarah says, if a creator is willing to shortcut the social media journey, they are also willing to shortcut the quality of the work that they're doing for the brand. So those creators probably won't be asked to work for that brand again. Preach, 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 Sarah. Thank you. I love hearing that perspective, because that's totally right. If they're shortcutting on the the actual work that is required to actually grow an authentic audience, what other shortcuts do you think that they're trying to do? So 100% agree with that. All right, let's, by the way, as I mentioned, like, these live streams are for y'all. So if you have any questions around brand deals, negotiating, sponsorships, etc., please drop it in the chat. We're going to be talking a little bit more about this topic around why dumb creators are getting more sponsorships than you, but please drop your questions in the chat. Tote the Rocks 13 says, getting a copy of your book as soon as available. I appreciate that very much, man. And I can't wait. It's going to be a process. I'm probably targeting something like next fall for the launch. But yeah, really excited for that. All right. Okay. So let's wrap this topic up with another kind of mindset shift here. So dumb creators are getting more sponsorships than you because sometimes business is unfair at the end of the day. But you cannot let that deter you from shooting your shot. What if instead you tried to be objective and think, okay, what could I actually learn from this creator? Maybe this is a legitimate creator. I may not think that they're that great. I may think that my content is better, or I deserve more followers or more subscribers or listens or newsletter subscribers, whatever it is. What does it seem like they're doing well? And maybe you could even befriend them and ask them, rather than looking at them as a competitor or rather than looking at them as an enemy. Could you instead have an abundance mindset instead of a scarcity mindset and try to support them and see, what are they doing right? Why are they getting more sponsorships than me? Why are they succeeding more? Why are they, if they're selling things directly, why are they able to sell things to their audience more efficiently or more effectively than I am? Why is that? Could I learn from them? I always think that this is a really healthy exercise to kind of be introspective and reflective around why other people might be succeeding. It may not just be because, the world is unfair, because sometimes it is. Sometimes business is unfair, and unscrupulous people are succeeding even though they shouldn't. I am a big believer in karma. I don't think karma has an expiration date, but I'm not sitting around and waiting for that to happen. I just don't have time for that. I don't have time. People always, ask me, like, are you threatened by other coaches or other, people out there who are educating creators? And I'm like, no, there's no possible way that I can educate every single creator, the millions of creators that are out there. There's no possible way. We need more people educating creators. I believe that I fundamentally approach things differently than virtually everyone. In fact, I was reading through some of those interview transcripts that I was mentioning, of speaking with creators who are, like wanting to learn more about brand collaborations. And someone said that the thing that they appreciate the most about me and the way in which I approach creator education is that a lot of the other coaches or other creators that they follow who talk about this stuff talk about working with brands like a battle. Like, you have to go out there, you have to put this suit of armor on, and because every brand is out there trying to screw you, and they're all malicious, and they're all trying to take advantage of you. And I fundamentally do not believe that. My wife and I have done hundreds, literally over 500 sponsorships. I've done thousands through the agency, and it has been my vast experience that most brands are made up of good people. And yes, there may be some brands out there that are trying to prey on creators. I understand that. And perhaps some of you may have had some less than ideal situations. But if you go into a negotiation, if you go into an interaction just believing that it's going to go poorly and believing that you need to be on, your toes and you got your fisticuffs up ready to like punch them in the mouth, what do you think is going to happen? How do you think you're only going to be able to get that deal across the finish line by the skin of your teeth? And if you haven't pissed off the brand yet, you're probably going to piss them off throughout I talk about this a lot. Like, if the opinion, if the disposition or the vibe of the negotiation, once you get that deal signed, is, oh man, like, I don't know how the brand is thinking, like, I don't know how this deal is going to go, because that creator like bent us over a barrel. It's pardon my French, but like, we feel taken advantage of, or we feel as though the creator was only in it for themselves. Yeah, we got the deal signed because we have to, we're under a deadline, but it really wasn't a good feeling. even though we got this deal across the finish line and signed. Do you think they're going to be how willing do you think that they're going to be, able to work with you if things arise, if complications arise throughout the execution phase of the deal? They're probably going to give you a hard time. They're probably going to give you more rounds of revision. They're going to be a little more sticklers in terms of the creative latitude that they're willing to afford you, right? Do you want that to happen? No. Contrast that if you come to the table with this, perspective of, you actually are interested in the outcome of the deal, and you're not trying to take every last penny off the table of the deal. They're going to be so much more willing to work with you. I know this firsthand because I ran the agency. This is just it's so much easier to work with creators who have this perspective. And so again, I want to stretch all your minds around this topic, right? It is not a battle. It is not a fight. You don't need to steel yourself, and watch what happens when you have this shift in your perspective. Okay. We've got Rosie, the hustling mama tuning in. We've got Keeping It Rizza. We've got Boo Kitty 16. We've got Having Fun with Fashion. We've got Gil has no chill. Good to see you here, Gil. 2 chapters ahead. Good to see you here. Let's see who we got on YouTube here. All right. We got some questions tuning in or dropping in the chat here. Sarah Dawn, I just got offered, there was a question about this. Let me get to you in a second, Sarah. My C Prince, Justin, I have a question. What should a brand look at on a YouTube channel, or what should we be concentrating on? All right, this is a great question. My C Prince. So when it comes to, I talk about, I do this thing in my Gifted to Paid program called your brand attraction audit. Because one of the things that we often did, when I ran this agency and I had my employees do, is kind of this discovery process where we would get briefed by a brand or another agency. Let's say it's a PR agency or a media agency that actually subcontracted our agency to do a campaign. They would say, okay, the brand is looking for a certain type of creator. We had talked earlier around, ages or demos or anything like that, right? They would say, okay, we need to go out and find, a certain quantity of those types of creators, 20, 30, 40 people, whatever it is. Maybe we were only going to be moving forward with 5 or 10 of them. But I've talked before about how you need to double or triple or even quadruple the number of people that you actually reach out to, because the response rates that you'll get is very low, usually 40 to 50%. Surprisingly, of people that you'd reach out to who'd actually, respond. And then of those people, maybe only 25% to 50% would be available with their schedules, or maybe they had exclusivity on other deals or something and they weren't able to move forward. So you just have to reach out to a lot of people to actually hear back, from people. And so oftentimes what we would do is we would do this discovery process where we would go and we would look at a lot of different channels, a lot of different types of creators, and just see if their overall presence seemed to fit with what the brand was trying to accomplish. Here's a great concrete example. We did a lot of work with family influencers at my agency because that's the type of work that we did. And so one thing that we would have to do before reaching out to the creator was see if we could determine how old the creator's kids were. So we would be doing this type of thing where we would be searching their YouTube channels or searching their Instagram to see if we could find a birthday post from their kids. And so they said, oh, okay, on this date, December 2013, they said, oh, happy 6th birthday to their kid. And so we would work backward and be like, okay, their kid is this age now. And so we would have to see, go through and kind of do this sleuthing. We would do the same thing across other social platforms. And so what do you think would be something that would be a worthwhile thing to do if you're a family creator and you're doing family-oriented deals? Put the ages of your kids in your bio. Make it easy for the brand to be like, okay, perfect. This creator is fits the criteria for this deal because they have kids in the right age range. Similarly, are you doing a lot of regional deals where you're doing, maybe it's a grocery chain in your regional area, or, regional hotels, or maybe you're a travel influencer or whatever? You better put where you're located in your bio, right? So it's like these kind of simple things you don't think about, but these are the types of criteria that brands are looking at when they're trying to ascertain whether you'd be a good fit for a deal, right? And so that's the types of things I would look at. Specifically to your question around a YouTube channel, visual presence matters a lot. If your titles and thumbnails are risque, and you have these bender in Vegas and you're like looking drunk or something in the thumbnail, and you're trying to get, deals from like kind of like family friendly brands, do you think they're going to want to work with you? That may have been kind of a hyperbolic or clickbait thumbnail that you made just to get the click, to get that AdSense check. But do you think you're going to get a brand deal? The brand is probably not even going to watch the video. They're just going to look at your channel and be like, there's no way I can send that to the brand. This is what would happen is like, we would see a creator that would seemingly kind of be a good fit for the campaign, but we would just kind of do a quick perusal of their social, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is, right? Podcast. And if they were talking about controversial topics or things that we know the brand is sensitive about, we're just not going to put them in the recommendation. Right? So you kind of have to look at your social presence and the way in which your platform visually looks as a resume. Would you be proud of being on a phone call with the brand and they pull up their screen share and they start looking at it and you're like, oh, cringing, like, okay, I hope they don't look at that video over there because that's not good. Right? This is something you have to think about. Okay? It's something that you have to think about. Raman Ratzi says, I'm putting age in bio now. Yes, that's a huge one. Huge one. So that's kind of how it's kind of what I think about. Yeah. And Sips of Sue says, updating the kids' ages in the bio. Yes, it's huge. Yeah. Yeah. Cause the other thing too, is that, we utilize, software programs sometimes that, helped us find creators more quickly. And what a lot of these influencer marketing platform softwares do is they scrape your Instagram bio. So they actually go out there using the Instagram API and they pull in the bio, everything that's in the bio, and then they put that into their database basically. And so you really want to make sure that is updated, because a lot of the software programs that these brands and agencies are using to find creators, they're looking at that. They're searching keywords, they're using filters and things like that. And a lot of what they use is keyed off of what's in the Instagram bio or TikTok bio or YouTube channel about section or whatever. So, it's a really important exercise to do, is to kind of go and do this. So by now I have done probably 200 or 300 brand attraction audits, I used to call it. This is how I got the start for Creator Wizard. I don't know if you guys know this. Is like, I didn't have a channel. I wasn't creating content really. And I was just like helping people because people started asking me, and then people started recommending me to their friends. And I would like do a screen share. I would do these like, 2, 3, 5 minute videos where I'd be like, oh, no, you got to change this, got to do this, got to change this. That's this type of thing. And this is what turned into Creator Wizard, because I started making videos around this. And so I think the very first place that I started doing this and helping people was this Facebook group I was in, my wife and I were in, I think it was called the Reward Style Bloggers group or something on Facebook. Cause my wife has been in Reward Style for a really long time. And so it's like kind of an affiliate marketing, group. And so that's where I started doing this, and people started asking me, DMing me, all this stuff. And so I've done hundreds of these audits over the years. And it's a really big, it's a big part of like, polishing your identity as a creator. All right. Got an interesting follow-up question here from Ursuline. Talking about things controversial, many creators are personally affected by things going on in the world, though. So should they just not talk about what affects them so that they can work with a brand? Absolutely not, Ursuline. That's not what I'm saying. It's a great point, because yes, of course, it's your platform. You should feel free to, talk about the things that are affecting you, whether it's social things or personal things, that are important to you. 100%. But what I am going to be totally honest with you about is that there are going to be certain brands that aren't comfortable with that. I'm not saying that that's right or wrong, but it's something to be aware of, that is a factor that some brands consider. Again, I'm not saying that it's right or wrong, but like what I'm really talking about though is not necessarily social issues. It's more like, explicit content, things that could be considered, just kind of not brand friendly, whether it's sexual content or, drinking, drugs and alcohol, firearms, like, things like that. Like those are the types of things more that I'm talking about, because again, like you'd be surprised, like, on your YouTube channel or Instagram, posting a night out with the guys or night out with the girls, and you're drinking in the thumbnail or in the photo or whatever. Like there's some brands who are just not going to be cool with that. And so that's really more what I'm talking about. And it's just like, kind of good to have that potential filter when you're deciding whether to post a photo or post an IG story or post that YouTube video or something, because again, YouTubers especially fall victim to this, because a lot of times you are the main way in which you're monetizing that platform is through AdSense. And so you don't really necessarily have to, think about like what you're talking about or what you're doing, as long as it follows their guidelines. And so, they don't really have much of a filter, because like, oh, if it gets the click, I'm going to do it, right? I'm going to do these very kind of over the top thumbnail images and this type of thing. Like I'm not going to like call out anyone or anything, but like, here's an example. There are, when I was running the agency and we were kind of focused on the family friendly thing, there were a lot of family vloggers that would post thumbnails of their kids in various states of like, oh, they got hurt or something. And it was like, oh, we had to rush them to the emergency room, or they were crying in the thumbnail or something like that. Right. And I'm not going to put any judgment on whether that's right or wrong, but there was a lot of brands that we worked with who weren't comfortable with that, who weren't cool with that. They just felt like it was kind of crossed a boundary. And so, yeah, like that was just a line that they had, and they didn't want to work with creators like that. I'm thinking of a few brands in particular. So again, this is the types of things that I'm talking about when it comes to this. And so just something to keep in the back of your mind when it comes to, how you're presenting yourself on social media. So hopefully that's helpful. All right. Okay. Question here from Sarah that I wanted to get back to. All right, question. I just got offered an affiliate for a brand that is a good fit and I like their work. Assuming that this goes well, do you have advice for moving past simple affiliate links to sponsors? All right. So this is a really good question, Sarah. All right. So if there's a brand that wants to collaborate with you and they're presenting an affiliate opportunity, but you would actually, maybe you're interested in this, but you actually want to someday move on to more of a comprehensive sponsorship partnership, the best advice that I have is illustrating to them once you're ready to make this transition, that you're able to do more things for them than just purely conversions. Because let's face it, like an affiliate relationship is the ideal scenario for the brand. They've got this little army out there, this content army, this creator army, where the brand has to outlay no capital whatsoever. And you're out there talking about them, and they're just going to give you a cut when they make a sale or when they acquire a customer. That's the ideal scenario. And so what you are doing when you agree to those types of affiliate relationships is trivializing what it takes to actually create the content, number one, to recommend the brand, but also you're trivializing the influence that you have, the stamp of approval that you are passing through to that brand when you say, hey, go check out this brand over here. Right. And so this is like a really important thing. And the other thing that's really, kind of mindset shift that you can provide to brands is that they don't have much control over how you characterize their brand or their product or their service when you're out there being an affiliate for them. Right. One of the biggest advantages to sponsorships is control that the brand has, because they're now able to provide you, let's say, a brief, a creative brief, talking points, a call to action. Let's say they have a seasonal promotion or a campaign that they really want to make sure that all the partners are talking about the brand or the product or the promotion in a certain way. They don't have that control when you're just an affiliate. So this is your ability to then come in and say, hey, yes, absolutely super excited to, be an affiliate for you. Out of curiosity, do your affiliates typically grant you the rights to repurpose their content for ads? Because that's something that I specialize in. Let me know if you'd like me to send over a few investment options for what that might look like. And so now the brand is like, oh, actually, no, they don't grant us the rights for that. Let's engage with Sarah further, because it sounds like she approaches this in a little bit different, a little bit differently, right? And so now you're put into a totally different category because no affiliate has ever said that. Now you say, yeah, oh yeah, sure. Like this is something we can go back and forth on. I'm going to put 2 rounds of revisions into this. For example, here's a good example of this. Is, I recently did a partnership with Circle, which is like a community platform. And as I was, kind of talking with them about some of their goals, they're trying to accomplish for the rest of the year and into 2024, one of the things that they wanted to experiment with was UGC, or using content for paid ads rather than content that's generated internally by their creative team. And so one thing that I proposed to them was, something that I specialize in is generating unique assets that you could use for paid advertising. So essentially what I did is I had, when I created, essentially what I did, the deal was one long form piece of content that they exclusively get to use and repurpose, as well as 4 short form pieces of content per month. And so I filmed 4 unique assets per month, but there's a different version of the asset that I post natively than they use for paid ads. So for example, maybe one of the ads, you may have seen some of these ads go, or some of these posts go live on my social channels, but it's like, here's why I'm super bullish on, doubling down on a community in 2024 or something like that. And then I do my spiel. And then at the end, the call to action for the asset that I post on my platform is, let me know in the comments your biggest hesitation of launching a community, or something like that. But the version of the ad that I sent to the brand was, click below and get a 7-day, and sign up for Circle and get a 7-day free trial. So it's the exact same video, but the last 3 or 5 seconds is different. And that's the one they're using as a paid ad. Right. And so that is something that you can do as a creator and really illustrates your savviness. And so, again, when you're trying to really, understand how do I set myself apart as whether I'm an affiliate or whether I want to transition into, getting flat rate sponsorships. These are the types of conversations. These are the types of things that you can propose to a brand to really help them, understand why they should fork over the cash upfront. Is that helpful, Sarah? Because that's really kind of how I think about these things. I think we have the most amount of people I've ever had on a live stream right now between all the platforms I'm on. Can we just get like a round of applause here, guys? You are coming through on a Friday. Happy Friday to me and to you. Let's drop some like money tongue emojis, some praise hands emojis. Like, let's get it, guys. This is the most amount of people I think I've ever had concurrently on a live stream. So I'm feeling like really like appreciative and grateful right now. So thank you. This is super cool. All right. All right. Okay, let's see here. We've got Michael's Tech Talk tuning in. We've got Joshua Timothy. Good to see you here. We've got Simple Nail Design, Beyond Graphics on IG. Jercel, yes, appreciate you guys very much. All right, we've got some more questions here. I'm going to scroll back because I missed one from Auto Finance Sense. Hey, Auto Finance Sense. I recently started super niche and I'm growing fast. I just got monetized in 60 days. Boom. Can we give some round of applause for Auto Finance Sense in the chat? Because we're sharing our wins on a Friday. That's amazing. And her question is, can I get brand deals? I help people get through the dealership finance office. Is it too early? Absolutely not too early at all. One of the things I talk about is this. I need to write an article or make a video about this because I've been talking about this recently and I don't have this formalized, but I like to think of something that I call your sponsorship continuum. Okay. When you are in the earliest stages of your journey, whether you're growing or you're growing quickly or you're still trying to find your footing, your pitch to a brand, when you reach out to a brand, is likely going to be very different than if you have hundreds of thousands of followers or views or whatever it is, right? Because in the very beginning, if you reach out to a brand and say, hey, I would love to talk about you on my platform, and you're only getting 50 to 100 views or, on your average views on your videos or podcasts or newsletter opens or whatever it is, that's likely not going to move the needle for the brand. Right. And so instead, probably, what your pitch is going to be is, hey, brand, I was taking a look at your social presence across, YouTube, Instagram, whatever your blog, whatever it is, whatever type of creator you are, and say, I think there is, you could be telling your brand story in a much more compelling way. I would love to help create some content for you that you can repurpose, that you can put on your blog or your YouTube channel or third-party e-commerce platform like Amazon, run for paid advertising, whatever. Oh, by the way, go take a look at my platform because it's my portfolio. So the thrust of your pitch is going to be very different, right? And so then, maybe you grow a little bit and you are getting 1,000 views or 5,000 views or whatever. And maybe it's a hybrid pitch now where when you reach out, you say, hey, I can create some content for you, but hey, I'll put it on my platform too, because that could move the needle for you. And then, maybe you achieve some scale and you're getting 50, 100,000 views per video, whatever, 10,000, 5,000, whatever, right? But you are having maybe you're in a very specific niche, like you are Auto Finance Sense. And maybe it is very meaningful for you just to talk about the brand on your platform. And that's going to be the thrust of your pitch. So I really like to think about it as a continuum where you should be constantly thinking based on the brand that you're interacting with, what can move the needle for this brand based on where I'm at and based on where the brand is. And so if you're in a position where you mentioned you kind of have this super niche, but maybe you could point to your platform as a portfolio where you say, hey, I understand YouTube, or I understand Facebook or TikTok or whatever it is. Let me help you think through your content strategy. Maybe it's a consulting play. Maybe you're going to go to them and say, hey, yeah, I could create some content for you, but I actually think here's like how I would be approaching your social media brand, because I don't think that you're doing, there's some opportunities for improvement here. So just because it's been 60 days and you're growing super rapidly, don't minimize that. Don't, put yourself down and be like, oh, well, what do I have to, know? No, like you have a lot, like that could be the story. Like, okay, look, that could be the story. That could be the narrative. Here's an example. Okay. When I pitch a sponsor for Creator Wizard, for my newsletter, or for the YouTube channels or the podcast, whatever it is, the prices that I charge for working with me is basically 3 to 5x, sometimes 10x what other creators, kind of in my niche are charging. And because brands have told me this, right? And I stand firm on that. And you want to know why? It's because of the story that I tell. I say, look, it's not just about the amount of views that I'm getting, or the amount of people who open these emails, and the amount of people who are listening on the podcast. It's what I represent to the creator community, because I know this. I know that a lot of people trust what I have to say because I'm balanced, I'm objective. And when a brand, let's say a brand in the creator economy, brands who are trying to speak to other creators, when they can say that they are partnered with Justin at Creator Wizard, that is of immense value. And I know that. Not just that, the persona of my audience, the persona of y'all who are on this live stream today, you are a different breed, because you are not just screwing around on TikTok. You're not just messing around. You want to make money doing this. Am I right? Can I get some validation in the chat? That's why we're here, right? We're not just messing around. We're trying to derive a livelihood for ourselves and our families, right? And so that is fundamentally a different type of audience member, a different type of customer. That brand XYZ who I'm negotiating with, you want to access that because I am the conduit to help you access them. And I'm going to charge you a pretty penny for that privilege. Right? And so it's about the narrative. It's about the story that you tell. And so you should sit down and think, what is my story? What is the story that I can tell? And there's this exercise that I really, really recommend each and every one of you do, which is you have to do some psychographic research about your audience. Understand on a fundamental level, what problems does your audience have? What is keeping them up at night? How can you serve them in that way? Because once you have that data, whether it's, polls on your Instagram stories, or maybe it's a Google form or a type form that you send to your audience, to your newsletter, or in your podcast show notes or whatever it is, right? And you start getting this data back. Now you can have this conversation with the sponsor and the brand and say, hey, I'm not just saying this. I'm not just making this up. Look at the data. This is what my audience is saying. They're having this problem here. They're your ideal customer. That's why you're going to pay me 3x what some of these other creators might have quoted you. Okay? Tanya says, yeah, period. We got to put a T at the end of that. My wife, April, always got period, whatever, right? We're a different breed. Liz Bianco says, preach. Yeah. You the conduit, the Falconite says, yes, 100% on IG. Yeah, we got the, Rosie from the Hustling Mama says, preach, Justin. Yes, love to see it here. All right. I'm going to take a swig and we'll dive back into it. I love to see all the claps and the praise and the sharing of the wins. for auto finance in the chat, everyone congratulating her on getting monetized and the rapid growth, because that is what we do here. That is what we do here each Friday, because we celebrate each other, because there are billions of dollars pouring into the creator economy, and there's enough for everyone. There's enough to go around. And so if we all can raise up each other and not look at each other with side eyes like we're competitors, no, y'all, we are niche neighbors, okay? We are gonna help each other rise up, okay? Can we all like preach that? Can we all write in the chat that we are going to, I'm gonna put it verbatim here. I commit to supporting my fellow creator. Can we all put that in the chat? I commit to supporting my fellow creator, because there is more than enough money to go around. Okay? Can we all commit that? I want to see some of that. I want to see that in the chat. I commit to helping my fellow creator. Come on, I'm waiting. Here we go. I want to see it, because that's what we're here to do. Okay? All right. I commit. There we go. The Falconede says too long. Ditto. Thank you, Giselle, for putting in the work. Rosie said, I've never been to church, but this is what I imagine the vibe would be like. Well, there we go. Yes. Come on. Here we go. Let's do it. I'm taking you all to church today. All right. Love to hear it. There we go. Be Naturally Lovely says, hello, first time here. Look forward to learning from you. Awesome to have you here. I think I remember seeing your username or your profile photo. I think you may have followed recently, right? Off of one of the reels I did. So nice to see you here. Maybe you can let me know your name so I could know your name. All right. Yes, rising tide lifts all boats. Exactly. All right. There was a question here. Let me scroll up a little. Higher here. Okay. Non-finita Jacob says, I am in a long-term partnership with a brand since last summer, and now I've just signed contract to work until next spring or summer. Huge. I wonder how I can tell them next time that my price has changed. Great question, Non-finita. First of all, congratulations for signing that long-term partnership. Let's get some, come on, we're sharing the wins, right? We just talked about this. Sharing the wins. Let's put it in here in the chat here. Let's congratulate Non-finita for that long-term brand partnership. I mean, that's huge. All right, so here's my recommendation. If you have a long-term partnership with a brand, and let's say that the deal is going to be expiring at some point soon, and you want to try to renegotiate the terms of that deal, whether it's the exclusivity or the compensation or the usage terms or whatever it is, this is like a frequent problem for a lot of creators, because maybe they charged a very small amount to kind of get their foot in the door and prove their worth to a certain brand, and it's going super well, and you've been charging them $100 a video or $500 a video or whatever it is, and you're like, oh, you've grown a lot, and you're like, okay, I need to renegotiate this. It's tough, right? Because look at it from the brand's perspective, right? They're perfectly happy with the way things are going, right? Because they're like, man, we're getting a lot out of this relationship. And so a lot of creators feel like all they need to do is go back to the brand and be like, well, I've grown now and I'm getting 2 to 3 times the amount of views or whatever, or maybe not. Maybe they haven't even grown and they're just like, we've been working together a year now, and I think it's only fair for you to pay me 2 or 3x. A lot of people think that's justification enough, and it's not, because again, if the brand looks at you as a commodity, and they're working with a lot of creators, they're just going to be like, nah, we're good, thanks. We're going to go with this other creator over here. And so the onus is on you to help illustrate to them, to help them understand actually what you're bringing to the table. So the best way that I have found to do this is what I call a recap report. And so what you're going to do is you're going to go back over all of the work that you've done to date. Maybe it's a year, maybe it's 6 months or whatever, maybe it's longer. And you put together a summary, both a quantitative and qualitative summary. So maybe you've done social media posts, so you gather all of those views and all of the engagement metrics, and you start screenshotting comments of what people were saying about the brand. You take all those comments and you dump them into ChatGPT, and you start, generating a affinity or a sentiment analysis of this is over all the 50 videos I've done. Here was the general sentiment of like what people were saying about the brand, and you present this report to them, and you say look at what we've done together over the last 12 months. Because don't forget this, okay? A couple things. One, the brand may have been working with a lot of creators. 50, 100, 500 creators. Some of these brands have a really robust influencer marketing strategy. And so they don't really remember. It's hard for them. They're working on a monthly basis here. They don't remember what you did for them 6, 12 months ago. And so it takes you putting this report together for them to be like, oh, okay, wow, this is actually, first of all, you think any other creator is going to do that? No, they're not going to do that, right? Secondly, there is so much turnover. At some of these brands, some of these agencies, you may have gone through 2, 3, 4 different contacts over the last 2 years because everyone constantly is changing jobs and changing roles, and you're no longer working with that person. And so the new contact that you have may have no idea of of everything that you've done over the course of that relationship, right? And so it takes you putting together this type of report to then use that as fodder for renegotiating the relationship. You say, hey, I would love to chat. And by the way, don't just wait until you're like at the 11th hour about to renew this thing. You should have this meeting, let's say in March. If your deal is going to renew in June, because again, they are finalizing their budgets in advance, not just right when your thing's about to renew. And so you need to get this on their radar earlier rather than later and say, hey, I would love to, I would love to continue the partnership, of course, let's put that on the table. But let's talk about everything that, we've done together over the last, 12 months or whatever. And in addition to that, there's all these other things that I would love to do for you. You're not just proposing a simple one-to-one renewal. You're saying, okay, yeah, I can still continue to do all the things that I've been doing, but here's these other things I can do. Maybe it's consulting. Maybe it's, I'm going to generate some exclusive content that you get to repurpose on your channels that I don't even post. Maybe it's, I'm going to do a webinar for your customer base where I get on there and I talk about X, Y, Z or whatever. The point is that the onus is on you to educate them, to help them understand why they need to compensate you more. Okay. So again, I think coming back to it, it's this recap report that's a really, really important, milestone to kind of reset the relationship. Nanfinita says, yes, writing all this down. Thank you so much, Justin. You got it. Keep us posted. Let us know how it goes. Excited to see how that goes for you. Tech Audit TV, we got Brandon in the chat. Good to see you, dude. He said, you should do a video that outlines how creators can communicate their value or worth or demand without coming across like a diva. It seems easier said than done. That's a really good video idea, actually. I'm going to make a note for that, Brandon, because that's a really good one. I'm going to take a screenshot of this. Great idea. I like that one a lot. All right. All right. Okay. Shital says, I know this doesn't have to do with this live, but I've been watching you in April for almost 10 years, and I would love to send you both a gift from my shop. That's so kind of you, Shital. Please don't, it's not necessary. That's super, super kind of you though. And really, really appreciate the long-term support. So thank you. All right. Let's see. I have another question here. I'm going to scroll up here. From Faye. Faye, where is your question? Faye, good to see you, Faye. Faye is a new, recent student of Brand Deal Wizard, so good to see you here in the live chat. I'm struggling in too many affiliate programs, and they frequently use my videos for social media. I'm just not sure about the right way to approach brands to leading a brand deal. First of all, Faye, I'd have to clarify, are the terms of the affiliate programs that you're in, does that allow them to use your content for paid ads or for social media? Because I would definitely take a second look at being part of affiliate programs that require that. And because again, that's something that should require an investment to be able to repurpose your content in that way. And in fact, this should be something you communicate to a brand if they're using it and you did not give them explicit permission. In fact, I actually recently posted a short form video on Instagram, TikTok, etc., about this very thing, where if a brand is taking your content, they're reposting it with or without your permission, right? And, you're not cool with that. You totally have the grounds to reach out to them and say the following, basically, hey, thank you. I'm so thrilled that you liked my content so much that you repurposed it or reposted it. That is something that typically requires an investment. Let me know what budget you've set aside to secure those rights. I also have some additional ideas of, content that I can create for you. Are you free on Thursday at 10 a.m. to talk about it? And so they're thinking oh, like, no, actually, we didn't secure those rights. Actually, if it wasn't in the terms of the affiliate agreement, obviously, that you agree to, we should probably engage with this creator to figure this out, right? Because they don't want that blowback from a PR perspective. And so you can be tactful in this regard. And, you know, what a lot of creators do is like, angrily DM or message the brand and be like, you better run me my check. You better, here's an invoice, or you're going to hear from my lawyers. It's like, yes, of course, there are some brands who do this maliciously, but look at it from the brand's perspective. There are so many creators who get excited about brands repurposing their videos because they think it's going to lead to exposure. They think it's going to lead to like, oh my gosh, the brand just posted me on their 50,000, follower account. Like I'm going to get all these followers, and look, which never really amounts to anything, right? Has that ever happened to you? And it's like, no, you don't get any followers, right? But like, this is what happens. Creators get excited about it. Oh, thank you so much, brand, right? And so the brands think that the creators are cool with it. And so if you're sliding in their DMs and angry about it, some brands may be like, oh, whoa, like what's going on here? No creators ever like told us that they were not cool with it. And so again, it's like, just again, have some empathy here. Don't just assume that every brand is going to be maliciously trying to do this. Okay. All right. Faye says, they most tell me it's gifted and that they have the right to use it. That's what confused me. So what I would really encourage you to do is, again, go back to those agreements. Like here's something that some brands do, which you do have to watch out for, is that when they email you or they DM you and they say, hey, we'd love to send you a free product, the way in which we use this platform to track all the free stuff, you have to go in here and agree, click and agree to the terms, right? To fill out your shipping address. And then what you'll notice is that in the terms, maybe it does grant them the rights to repurpose it for their social media or for their paid ads. And so you really do have to watch out for those brands, because I've seen that before, where it's like on certain platforms and it's like, oh, you didn't know that you were granting them the rights to do that. And so you definitely need to watch out for that. All right. We got Diana's here saying, great to catch you live, Justin. Thanks for all your great advice. Yeah, 100%, man. Thanks for, good to see you here and appreciate that. All right. There's another question a little further up that I missed. You guys are just blowing up the chat today. Okay, Tech Audit TV had a question here. Do you find brands are less interested in short form content compared to long form? My short form stuff does crazy well compared to my long form, yet so many brands want the classic long form video. It's a great question, Brandon. Good to see you. Brandon is also an alumni of Brand Deal Wizard. Good to see you here. I love how like so many of the, like this is, I believe the leading indicator for success is that even though a lot of you guys are alumni of the program, you're here every single week and you're putting in the reps, you're thinking about this stuff, you're analyzing it in the same way that I am, and we're talking about it. So it's not a surprise to me that to see a lot of alumni in here who are very successful, because you are, I mean, Brandon, when did you take the course? Like almost 2 years ago, maybe. So good to see you here. Anyways. So yeah, if you're a short form creator and you're seeing a lot more traction on that versus your long form content, yet it seems like it's hard to convince brands to like work with you on short form. Part of the reason may be, there's a couple reasons. One may be that they want to repurpose your long form content. That may be a goal of the campaign, where it's not just about you uploading it on your platform. It's about them cutting that content down, maybe using it for ads, maybe putting it on their website, putting it on an e-commerce partner. So that may be reason number one. Reason number two is that audiences on there, I believe there is a purchase intent difference between a short form and a long form audience or viewer. And I'm curious what y'all think about this, but a lot of think about your own behavior when you're on short form and you see a short form, let's say ad. I believe that the friction to actually go to that creator's bio on short form and go and check out that product, that's a much higher bar than it is to just keep swiping. However, with a long form, let's say YouTube video, where that link is right there. You do not have to oftentimes leave the video. You can see the link at the top of the description box. If you're on a desktop, it opens it in a new tab. Or if you're on your mobile, it opens that link and you still can watch the video with like a picture-in-picture. Like that friction, I believe, is lower. And so I think brands, and it's not just that, like for certain brands and products, perhaps it takes a little bit more time to actually demonstrate the product in a more compelling way. And that's the reason that they prefer long form content, because they want, 2 to 3 to 4 minutes exposure of the product versus the 20 to 30 seconds that you'd get in a short form piece of content. Not to say that it can't work, because there are videos on short form that can do really well, they can go viral, et cetera, et cetera. And so there are certain brands. I think sometimes it comes down to the product category, the type of brand, the product, the service, et cetera. But to me, any brand worth their salt is experimenting with both. I don't think they're like here's the thing. There are a lot of brands who look at long form video and podcasts in the same bucket. So the Athletic Greens of the world, or the HelloFreshes, these are what I would call DR marketers, or direct response marketers, where they treat this as one of their largest marketing channels, where it's pretty standard. It's like a 60 to 90 second ad read or ad insertion. And they look at YouTube and podcasts as the same, because it's like a long form thing. You're going to kind of be doing like a sponsored plug or an integration. And you're integrating it into an existing piece of content that usually has an existing upload cadence, right? So you're uploading your video every Monday, or you're uploading a podcast every Monday, or whatever. And people have come to expect ads in those longer form content. However, with a short form piece of content, there's less of a schedule, right? It's not like you were already going to upload a short. You're almost always creating the short because it's custom content. It's a branded piece of content. And so it's just a different consumption behavior, I think, and purchase intent. And so I think that's why some marketers look at it differently in that way. Sheepfires, holy cow, Sheepfires just dropped a $20 super chat. Are you kidding me? Thank you so much. That really, really means to me. I can't see the emoji, but what it says is a pair character dancing under a rain of confetti and taking his hat off to say, "You are amazing." Thank you so much. I wish I could just see what that what that emoji looked like. But thank you so much for the super sticker. That really means a lot to me. Thank you. All right. Brandon says, I'm doing an experiment where certain integrations in my media kit are grayed out with a lock next to them. I tell the brands those are integrations are reserved for long-term partners. My hope is that this gamifies the experience, and the psychology makes the brand want to get an initial deal done so that they can feel like a VIP. Interesting. That's super interesting. Definitely keep us updated on how that goes. Best co-op games. Oh, good to see you here. I think we were just DMing on Twitter, right? Good to see you here. What would you consider a newsletter to be long form versus short form? So the way I would consider, in my own business, I would look at this as an integrated ad versus a dedicated blast. So if I was doing a newsletter sponsorship, that would be, part of my Mindset Monday newsletter, that would be like integrated into that content that I was already going to post. And then a dedicated blast or would be like I'm sending out the newsletter with the express intent to promote a sponsor or a partner. And so those are the two differences for and we do that, by the way, we do that. So for example, one of my recurring partners or newer partners is Epidemic Sound. And so one of our Tool Tuesday blasts recently was all talking about Epidemic Sound. So, and then I've also done other plugs for them where it's integrated into the content. So that's kind of the parallel that I would draw for like a social media creator on YouTube, for example. Holy cow, what the heck? We're at time. Y'all, this is crazy. This was a poppin' live stream today, y'all. Thank you so much for showing up each and every week. You guys know I do these live streams every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. I'll be back at it again for another live stream next week. And thank you so much for your support. Sheepfires for the super chat. That was so kind of you. And I hope you find this valuable. It was super gratifying. I'm really grateful to see how many people we had here between all the platforms here. Really means a lot to me, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend and holiday season. I'll see you all next